Hello, hello. Welcome to the Menopause Love Lounge, where we are going to get real, raw, and unapologetic about being a woman in midlife. And today, well, we're diving into something that sounds good on paper, but can feel a little more complicated in real life. That does happen, right? So, we are talking about emotional availability, communication, and what it actually means to be in a connected relationship. We are joined today, you guys, by Harry Kloser-Pitcher. I want to say it with the right to it. That
Kloser,
Kloser-Pitcher.
Kloser,
Kloser.
Kloser.
Closer. I
Always
did
be
it so
closing.
wrong.
Always be
She's
closing. Exactly.
Always
Close.
be
I like
closing.
it. I like it. Okay, I'll try it again. We're joined by Harry Kloser-Pitcher. Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
Das war ein
He is a-
Wahnsinn. Dankeschön.
Danke.
I love it. Ich spreche Sie Deutsch. All right. So he is a coach and relationship educator who works deeply in the space of conscious masculinity, emotional intelligence, and helping people build more honest, connected partnerships. All right. So we are going to get a little bit more to Harry later. But right now, we like to start out with going through some of our personal reflections. All the ladies like to talk about all of the patterns, the defenses, the disappointments that we're carrying that can make them hard to receive. So, for you listeners out there, if you've ever found yourself wanting closeness, but you're also kind of pulling back, you're shutting down or losing attraction when things get too real, then this conversation is for you. So we are excited to jump in. We're going to do our usual personal reflections where the hosts are going to share where emotional intimacy feels nourishing and where it starts to feel a little uncomfortable or overwhelming. Then we're going to hop into our second segment where we're going to get to know Harry a lot better. And then we're going to end up with our legs wide open segment where we are back to our menopause court. So we are
yum.
so ready to dive in, aren't we, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Ready? Why don't we get started? Junie, you are such a breath of fresh air this morning. Why don't you get us started on your own personal reflection about emotional intimacy, what you're going through?
Okay. Well, I'm happy to say I'm not going through anything other than, oh my God, is this what this really can be like? Let's start seriously, because my
Go
my
back.
past definitely does not reflect what I have now. My past was trying so hard to be understood and talking so fast and trying to do anything to get in without him shutting me down, without him trying to fix me, without really being able to hold the space for me. That was my past. That is not what I have now. I have someone who's done a lot of work on himself, and it took a while for me to actually trust it. It was real after my decades of not having it. And so over time, it always blows my mind, still to this day, how when I have a thing going on, whether it's a personal, emotional roller coaster or something I need to talk to him about us or something about him, that he's able to receive me. He holds the space for me. My whole body, my whole nervous system is different now. It took a while to believe it was safe. But soon out the gate, I realized this man knew how to hold his own stuff without having to fix me, to be able to really listen deeply and be present with me. And so that allows me to lean in more and to be more open and vulnerable. And it just flows now. And it's not to say that there aren't those moments of, ooh, this might be a little bit of a tricky conversation. But at the same time, I trust our container. And I know that he's got the tools too, that if it does get a little wonky, that he will do his work and not project it back on me. So there was only one time in our relationship where it got a little wonky. And because I have the tools and that's what I teach, I was able to lovingly put up a mirror and go, what's going on with you? And I'm kind of sensing this, and can we talk about it? So we take our own responsibility, and we're able to really be with each other. So I'm a success story, and that's why I teach what I do, because you could actually get here, and it's so wonderful.
And I want Harry to say that there's lots and lots of men like that out in the world.
Yes,
Can
please.
Yeah. I can hear what all the clients are saying. Like, oh, lucky for you, Junie. How nice.
I
For
think-
you.
Took me
I
a while to
think-
get here, but yeah.
I think that there are more men out there in the world who would like to get there than we often think. And I think that's a major part. And it's
Agreed.
like many of us, took me, I was doing communication training work for years. It still took me years and years and years and years. And it still took other
Mm.
realizations. So, Junie, I just want to totally celebrate that. What an amazing
Yes.
thing. That sort of sense of just safety, trust, your whole body being able to relax. Like, he's going to listen. He's going to validate. He's going to be there. Wow. Just like
Yeah.
amazing.
And I had to
Oh.
do my work because I brought my chips to the party. This was not just I'm going out with emotionally crazy men, I
Yeah.
was also anxious attached. I was also being in my fear or projecting my shit on them. So I have to take that
Mm.
responsibility of I needed to do the healing work as well. So it takes two.
Yeah, Judy,
Yeah.
that's a great point because I think that the important thing is that we don't put that responsibility only on men, right? We look to men and
Mhm.
say, "Oh, maybe they can't access their emotions. They're not emotional," right? Which is not true. They actually have more emotions than we as women have. They may not have the permission to express because that's what's been handed to them, but I think once there is that the learning, I think for both of us, we can help one another. That's if you're in a coupledom, or partnership,
Mhm.
right, with two people. It could be with more, but it does take all people in the
Spicy real
relationship.
quick.
A throuple, whatever it is.
Different
I'm not
episode.
I'm not leaving
Throuple.
anyone out. I'm just saying in relationship, we all get to
Everyone
do
is
the work.
included.
Everyone's included,
Everybody.
and we all get to be
Yeah.
responsible for our emotional integrity, for our emotional intelligence, and that does take work.
Mm. Ooh, nice. I love that we started out with a success story, Judy.
I know.
So
Yeah,
good.
now for the
It's
other
always
stuff.
delicious.
I know. Judy brought the
Yeah.
chips and the guac to this one. So, Ozzy, why don't you go next? Why don't you talk about where you're at?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm not a success. I mean, haven't been successful yet in a partnership, but I have certainly done a lot of work, and I do continue to do the work. I do continue to learn about my own emotional intimacy, and to me, intimacy, and to me, you see, right? It's the courage to be seen, and that's something I had to learn through a lot of work, a lot of training, and a lot of friendships, and I
Mm.
play with it. It hasn't been easy because for me, I've in emotional safety when I was
Mhm.
growing up was not there. And I had to teach myself emotional safety. I still have to teach myself
Mm.
emotional safety in all my relationships. And I think that's what it's about. And for me, when I think of a partner who can support me, who could be emotionally available, it doesn't mean that he can cry. I mean, for me, it means that he's someone that's able to, he's not getting defensive. He's not collapsing when I'm sharing something with him, or if I'm raging, or if I'm whatever I am in the moment, that he's there and he's supportive and he's also sharing his heart, right? There has to be
Mm.
space for both. And I'm excited for that because, again, I've done a lot of the work and, again, still doing the work because it never stops. But in the past, it wasn't safe. My ex-husband and I did not have, he was appeasing me. He said the right thing. He made sure that anytime there was rupture, he would fix it right away, but not really fix it, right? Put a Band-Aid on it. And I didn't have the opportunity to practice emotional safety with him. And again, eventually it lent itself to the demise of our marriage. But that demise sent me into the work that I've been doing. So I'm excited. I'm excited and open for that.
Mm. That's pretty cool. Did you, Ozzy, I know you've told this story before on one of our previous shows about there was infidelity involved on his side in the past, and I hope you're okay if I ask this question, but did you ever kind of look at that and put that blame on him a little bit because maybe he wasn't as communicative, as sensitive? And did you find that he was communicating elsewhere? Was he different with that person that he was committing adultery with?
I'll start with the first part, which is, did I blame him? No, I didn't actually. And my friends would get angry at me for not blaming him. But I always came from
Yes.
what's mine and what's his. And I was able to separate that. I actually took more responsibility than I should have. That's part of my pattern. So I did take a lot more of the emotional brunt work of what happened. And yes, he was available to something else. And that worked better for him. Now, again, I I don't know. I'm not in the relationship, so I don't know to what capacity. I don't think it's to the capacity that I would need today as
Yep.
emotional available, as an emotional available human.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't blame him. I kind of saw that it was both of us. It was both our patterns and the dynamic thereafter that created
Yeah.
and thankfully, right? Thankfully, because I would have still
Yeah.
probably stayed in this marriage that wasn't working for me. That I wasn't seen, I wasn't heard, I was just appeased. And to me, that's not
Mhm.
emotional intelligence. To me, it's a protective person protecting himself from ruptures, and
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
and not standing strong for me or the family.
Mm. I love that. See, that is a success story. Thank you for answering that question. So, Harry, do you find that because, when we're talking relationships, it's not always just dating, intimate, like in that sense, there's friendships and all those different relationships with our family. Do you find that men tend to be very different with those other relationships than they are within their own personal relationship? And why does that happen? Why is it so hard for them to take it from one place where you see them communicating and you're just like, wow, that boy can talk. And then he comes to home and he's zipped up. Does that happen a lot?
That's a big
Big
bloody question,
sigh.
Andrea.
Where do
That's
I
a big bloody
begin?
question right there. It's really difficult to say, isn't it? I mean, there's always a difference. It's like some guys, when I've spoken about women and cycles and hormones and stuff like that, and then some guys, there was this one guy who was really trying to argue with me at one point, and he was trying to say, well, women can be fine with their bosses and their friends, and why can't they always just be fine with their intimate partner? You know, and I
Mm,
was trying to say, for whatever reason, it's not coming across. It's of course there's more tenderness with the intimate partner. Of course there's more buildup. Of course there's like all these little things that happen over the years.
fear.
Of course there's fear, there's embarrassment, there's shame, there's safety. All of that stuff gets rolled around. And it's like,
Mhm.
for me, myself, there's also, it's like, if I take it back to me, there's a risk with my wife. It's like, I, there's this risk. I want to show up well. I want to show up in a way that leads to safety. I want to show up. It's like with something that is both looking after, being protective, but not overprotective. And then the kids are in the
Mm,
space too. When I go to see my friend Alex down the road, I just see my friend Alex down the road. None of that
mm,
stuff is in the room. And
Mm,
so none of those traumas that are usually to do with everything else that I'm holding, they don't have to be there when I'm with my friend.
right.
yeah.
But with my
So
wife, there's
Interesting.
this
true.
whole group of expectations, imaginings, like how ought
And
I to be
risk
showing
and
up in this
risk.
moment,
A
and
risk that
risk.
she's going to make it about her, risk that she's going to reject you, risk that she won't receive you. We just wow, it's
Yeah.
landmines.
Higher stakes with the deeper.
It's higher
Yeah.
stakes. It
Yeah.
matters
Yeah.
more.
Absolutely.
Matters so much
Mm.
more.
Wow. Okay, well, I'll go next. Thank you, Ozzy, for sharing that, by the way. So when it comes to emotional intimacy, so I'm always torn with this with a partner because I do really love a man that's very sensitive and sweet and caring and supportive. And I want him to sit down and watch these crying movies with me. And I want him to watch Love on the Spectrum with me and be like, oh my God, that's amazing. Okay. But at
The
the same
Notebook.
time, the
The
notebook. I want
Notebook.
every man to watch the notebook. I know. And I love that. But then I do find that when they start getting a little too sensitive, or if he leans over sometimes and like puts his head on my shoulder, I'm like, huh? Because it's weird. I know it gives me
You're not
that.
my kid.
The
Yeah.
ick.
Yes. Yes. It
Right.
makes me all of a sudden feel like I am the masculine in the relationship. I'm the big spoon now. And he's kind of leaning
Mm.
on me. And so it's a very fine line for me because I love when they're vulnerable and caring. But then, when they start being too sensitive or too needy, then that's a big turnoff for me. So I really feel for men because it's a struggle for them, right? To figure out where is that line when they can go too far and when they're still okay to be this sensitive self. And sometimes I feel like when you give them the leeway to totally be vulnerable and sensitive all the time, then you kind of get that all the time. And I really like a man to be a man too. So it's a very fine line for
Yeah.
me, I think.
Andrew, do you think that if he came to you and said, I really need 5 minutes to just be vulnerable and collapse here can you hold space? Like if he asked for
Absolutely.
would that be a different experience for you?
That
Yeah, I
would
think
be
it's when they
manly.
ask. Yes, it's when and I'm not talking about, I should preface this because if my current partner listens, I'm not talking about you. That's all I'm saying. 'Cause I know he's listening to my stuff and he's like, oh, she doesn't like that. I'm just kind of talking more generally. But, when they come in and then all of a sudden they're just, I don't know. I've had one that's like laid down and put his head in my lap and I'm just like, huh. And that's telling me that I'm I'm giving
What was he doing in the lap,
my
Andrea?
I was
What was
just
he
going to say, there's
doing?
different things in
I
the
was going to
lap.
say,
Yeah, it
what
was
were his
not good.
intentions for the lap at the time?
He was resting, and that was wrong.
Well, there's a difference between vulnerability and what we're going to perceive as weakness or neediness. Difference between open and sharing
Right.
and collapse
Yes.
and not able to hold their
That's
shit,
right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's also difficult because I can tend to be I have a very dominating personality at times. I do like to be in charge. I like, y'all ladies, shush. I like, not since Lori and Don came in, I've been able to step back on that, which is amazing. I love it. I love it. And no, it's calmed me down. And so, but sometimes that can also be to my demise because then I start to do things, right? So in past relationships, I start to do too many things. And then it becomes, hey, I can't get this printer to work. Can you fix that? And you're like, yeah, there's a button here. Like it just starts to become so many things that they then become needy about. And I think it's because I'm offering too much help, thinking I'm doing it as a part of the relationship, but it's really coming because I want to control it and be the one that's doing that, but I don't want to be that anymore. So it's a struggle. Is all I'm going to say.
A woman.
A woman.
I guess at that point, you're also differentiating. It's what is vulnerability versus like what is fawning. So it's kind of like if I take
So
the
good.
coming to you with something, it's like, is it a guy who's coming to you, doesn't really know what's going on and is just a bit mopey and, oh, can you look after me? It's like, whereas if someone's coming to you and a capacity to own, like, this has gone on. This is happening in me. It's this, this, and this, and I'm disappointed. I'm angry. I'm sad. And fucking hell, can I just cry for like 5 minutes, please?
Yes.
It's owned. It's owned. It's powerful. It's alive. It's like
authentic.
It's inviting rather than dumping onto you.
Big difference.
I love that.
There's a big difference.
Huge
at that point.
difference, Harry, when you say that. You're so right. If they're coming to me as a man saying these things that they want to do, they need help with all of these things, I'm like, heck yeah, I can help you. But if you're coming to me as a she-man.
Yeah, because Harry just blew my mind with what he said. How many of us think of men as fawning?
Yes.
But what? Hot damn, Harry. Like men who are afraid to get in trouble. Like my husband is like infinitely afraid of getting in trouble with me, right? But I think men say
Well,
that
of course, because nobody's tongue is as scathing as your wife's. It's like, it's terrifying. In all honesty.
So men doing fawning, like.
But yeah, that's what then happens. That's what then
Changed my life.
happens.
Changed my life.
I do want to say another piece in here, and it's obviously different times of life for different women, but it's like, if I think of my experience with my wife, we talk a lot about this sort of thing, and it's like, she's really clear in her luteal phase, and especially late autumn, and during menstruation, it's like, she really needs me to be strong. She needs me to be the person that she can put a shoulder on. She needs me to be there, and it threatens the entire safety network of her brain if I'm not. And we had a conversation at one point. It's like, okay, well, if I do need to have a collapse, when do I do that? And we went in the end, it's like early follicular phase. Harry, if you need to be collapsing time, come to me in early follicular phase. I will lie you on the sofa. I will bring you hot water bottles.
I'll hold you on my lap.
And that will do me good. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's also working out, hormonally speaking, what's actually really working in the system.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
said.
Put it on the calendar. So good. Lori, what do you have for us?
Speaking of putting things on the calendar,
Yes.
as you know, my husband and I have a lot of things on the calendar. Harry, you don't know this, but I'm now almost 33 years in with the same wonderful guy. And we have all these structures for intimacy, intimate communication. And I'm going to do some confessions here. Just, like that's the brag. Because Also
Oh, yes.
concessions in the brags, right? So we do something called a feelings party every morning where we're on a run. I'm like jogging, he's walking fast. And we're in the woods. It's just such a beautiful tradition. And we just take turns. One of us goes and then the other one goes. Whoever's hottest goes first. And we just talk, we call it purging, call it a feelings party. We just talk about how we feel. So it's everything from your body to your mind to your spirit, right? Like everything. And the other person's job is just listen, right? Anything logistical or informational comes after we've both, emptied ourselves. And I will just confess that my husband is at great risk that I will turn his turn into about me. Right. He is like that. I am hearing like a simultaneous translation of whatever he is experiencing and going through in his life as how does this affect me? And so, I mean, I'd like to say we're like perfect at taking turns and I never interrupt or I never, like take back the mic or whatever, but it's not true. But I will also confess that there is a total double standard in how much I want him to accept my full range of emotions and not make it mean anything. But I totally make it mean something. His full range
So
of
good.
emotions,
Yes.
certainly
yes.
anger, right? Like it literally
So good.
scares me. And sadness or weakness of any kind also scares me, right? Like the fortress that is keeping me safe has a little break in it, and now I'm in danger, and it feels awfully visceral, and I know I've studied these
Yeah.
things, so I kind of understand why, but I'm just confessing it and putting it out there. And then I'll just end
Thank
on
you.
one more brag, which is that we did for a
Brag.
while decide to quarantine our feedback to one another into a very specific monthly ritual where it was like
Great.
five things you want me to work on. Right. And we would just go back over a meal, we'd go out for a date, and it was like 5 things you want me to work on. And then we also have a yearly tradition of reinventing our vows. And we reinvent our vows based on we like give each other feedback. Like, well, what should we work on this year? And we
So
kind of think out
amazing.
loud about what we're gonna work on, and the other one gets to give feedback. And then we're accountable for it. In the evening ritual, we're accountable for it each evening. Like, how did you do on that new set of vows? So lots of
Wow.
nerdy
Yeah, a lot of wows
structure.
here.
God. A lot of structure.
Interesting. Not for
So good.
everyone, not for everyone. That's just
No,
I'm sure it's
it's
my human
important.
design or my Enneagram or my astrology, but
I hear
we
ritual. I
yeah.
hear connection. I hear revealing. I hear you're in it together and evolving. I
Yes,
just sounds
partnership.
great. Yeah.
Sum it up, partnership.
Harry, what do you
Healthy
have for this
partnership.
poster child of emotional intelligence? This is
There's
good.
there's two really juicy things that were going on there that I was
Juicy.
hearing, because there was like this there's this delicious thing around like the acknowledgement that you need to be able to share in a different way to the way he needs to share. I'm guessing it's like grabbing the mic back, and it's like when I think about it in those terms, what's going on kind of in the neurobiology of it all? It's like, of course, it's like you have much higher levels of oxytocin than he does. You have much higher levels of progesterone than he does.
Yeah.
That brings this need for networking. This brings a need for please reflect back to me, have it heard more. It's like that's perfectly normal. Of course you do. How could you not? And for men, and when I say for men, generally speaking, we've got high levels of vasopressin. What really works for men is come and fucking do something with me.
Yes.
Which he is he probably gets so much out of just going for the run with you. I can imagine. It's like that will build his love, his relationship, his connection with you
Nice.
amazingly. So
Not too many people talk about the vasopressin, which is the man's oxytocin, which is great. It's collaboration, right? Like that's where he feels more
Collaboration,
bonded
he's
to.
a whiff guy. He
bonding.
loves whiff. I love
Lori,
a
I
love.
hear you get a
Oh.
gold star. Gold star. That's what I
Many
hear.
gold
I love it.
Thank you. But I'm still learning. Like I just learned something just now. So that was
Yes.
great. Yeah.
There was
Oh, I
just one
love
other piece
that.
that I really want to pick out at that, which is you're talking about kind of the renewing, but also letting each other know what you can work on. It reminded me of the philosopher Alain de Botton, and Alain de Botton talks about love, and in particular, he says how romanticism killed our capacity for long-term relationships because it came along and told us that love is a feeling. And that if something was wrong with the feeling of love, then, oh no, you're not my soulmate because all this feeling's gone. But instead, what love is about and what long-term relationship is about saying, you're an imperfect human. I'm an imperfect human. We're living this crazy life together. How can we help each other do better and build this relationship ongoingly? And it sounds like you're doing that
Yes.
amazingly well. Right. Awesome.
Very
Nice.
nice.
So well
Very
said.
nice.
Bravo,
I
Lori.
love it.
It's a
Bravo,
verb.
Lori.
It's not a noun, and it's not a
I know.
feeling.
That's
I
right.
agree.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Okay,
Dawn.
Dawn,
Dawn. Dawn.
the
Dawn.
most patient among us.
Okay. Well, I am 12 years remarried, and I love what Harry said in the beginning about there are many men out there who want to bring this to the table. And I married a man who wanted to have access to this and bring it to the table, but neither of us truly knew how. And I was, one of those overfunctioning, taking too much responsibility like Aussie women, but also very disassociated. And so I thought because I could intellectualize feelings or I could spot patterns or map certain patterns, that meant that I was emotionally available or vulnerable. But that was certainly not the case. Vulnerability isn't how much or what you share, it's how it feels to share it. And so we've spent 12 years collaboratively learning how to really be vulnerable with each other. And we have certainly the same problems and patterns that have been alluded to here. I have a sixth sense for when things are off, and I'll say, this is my sense of things. And he often goes into denial or defensiveness. And then I escalate, and, we have to ground it back down. We talk a lot about internal family systems or parts around here. Which part of me is able to be vulnerable right now? Which part of me is struggling to be vulnerable right now? And when we're both escalating, we know it's because we've sort of collapsed into, a part that's less emotionally mature, and we've got to get back grounded in self. This has been an ongoing thing. I've had to learn to surrender control. I've had to learn how to be patient. That was one of the biggest shifts is as I started to get more well and more grounded, there wasn't same urgency to need to resolve something immediately, because in the past, I just needed you to tell me what I wanted to hear so that I could just feel safe again, but there wasn't any foundation there. And so being able to hold the space for myself and feel a sense of wellness, even when there's conflict, and to just be okay with that and know it's a long game. Things have just gotten exponentially better and better and better, but man, it's been a journey.
Wow, it sounds like it.
Isn't that
Anything to
interesting?
add to-
Isn't that interesting though, that like we forget that relationships, like we're bringing so many parts of us, and then they're bringing so many parts of them, and then we're just learning each other, and then we're learning ourselves through them, right, in that relationship, because not every relationship is the same for us. So I just find it so interesting, because we're so impatient. We want to jump towards the right, like Harry, you mentioned romanticism, like we want it to be romanticized, right? We even romanticize and idealize what a relationship should be. But until you kind of get into a relationship and you start to kind of learn about them and learn about us, right? You most of the time we do what we know to do, which is protect ourselves. And then they do what they know how to do, which is protect themselves. And then that's when, the what am I looking for? What is that? Like the help me, ladies, brain fog.
Well, I guess
condom.
The break, the condom, what?
You're talking about protection.
You're trying to get past your automatic defenses, and these defenses arise. So you're trying to get yourself to a point. It sounds like what you're saying, Ozzy, is like you're trying to find your way together towards that point where when someone says something, your automatic response is not, well, fuck you, but your automatic response is, I'm going to choose to believe that you have the best intentions for me.
Yes. Don reminds us of that a lot.
Assume goodwill.
Assume goodwill. And
goodwill.
Again, that's that if your go-to, your automatic is defense, that's assuming goodwill in other humans is a challenge. It's not impossible, but it's a challenge. And I have that voice in my head. Thank you, Don. That reminds me of that often, because now I'm going to assume goodwill until I have a reason not to.
Nice. I love that. Ooh, nice. Thank you, ladies, for all sharing that. So I want to make sure that we take a moment here to really introduce Harry to everybody. So Harry Kloser-Pitcher. I don't know why I have to say it with that accent, Harry. I just do.
Sounds better.
Just bring the German accent out.
No problem.
Everything
Takes a
sounds
while.
better with an accent. Well, Harry is the founder of She's Not Crazy, a biology based relationship education brand built on one simple premise, which is that a lot of relationship conflict isn't a communication problem. It's a biology problem nobody told us about. So, after his own marriage nearly collapsed from years of misunderstanding his wife's hormonal reality, Harry began studying the science of female biology, which we love. So he started studying cycles, hormones, nervous systems, and translating it into something that men could actually use. His content has now reached over 30 million views, with a single reel about the hormonal equivalent of female cycle changes becoming one of the most shared relationship videos of the past year. And I do want to touch on that in just a bit. So Harry doesn't coach couples, he educates them. His belief is simple. When people understand the biology, the behavior stops being a mystery. And when the mystery disappears, so does most of the conflict. So, woo,
Well,
we're
wow.
so happy you're here, Harry. But we
Bravo.
do
Thank you.
have some
Beautifully read.
we
Beautifully
have
read.
some questions for you, sir. So, when we say emotionally available, what does that actually mean in a man? What does it look like in real life, not just in theory? Can you fill us in on that?
Tell us.
Emotionally
How long do you have?
emotionally available. I mean, it's two pieces, isn't it? Because for me, really, so much of the work we do. I come from a background of, my wife is a nonviolent communication trainer, and she does work with shame, and she does therapy, and she does this. And my mum was an MDC trainer, and I've been an MDC trainer. So we've done all this kind of stuff. And really, for me, when you get down to it with what we're trying to do with almost all of these modalities, somewhere it's like, how do I not take shit personally?
Yes.
It's like, really? That's the kind of base of it. Because it's like, if I don't take what my partner says personally, then we can have a real connected conversation, because that's really what I'm trying to do with most of it. And so for me, that emotional availability, it's like, on my side, is like, it's that, how can I not take the shit you're saying personally? And what do I need to do to get to that? Whether that is emotional work, whether it is meditation work, whether it is understanding the biology and the hormones underneath that, it's like, whatever I can do to build that understanding, so that when something comes out of your mouth, my darling, that I could hear and go, well, I don't take it personally. And then it's just like, okay, that's where it is for you. So that's part of it. With the other part of it is just simply building awareness of what is actually going on inside me. And that's then the other side of it. It's like, okay, what am I actually feeling? What's actually going on right here? Am I angry, or am I sad, disappointed, embarrassed, slightly ashamed, and feeling small? So
interesting.
these are these pieces when it comes to emotion, because for me, that's what emotional availability is built upon. It's very difficult to be emotionally available if I take everything personally.
And what does it mean when you say take it personally? Because I work with couples, so I see sometimes the dynamic of a man just collapsing when the woman is speaking or sharing, and oftentimes I can't just say to him. I mean, I guess I could. Don't take it personally, because he's a human being that's having a human emotion and he's not expressing it. And how do you educate men on that exact thing, which is either you say it, or maybe you say it or teach it differently? I'm curious how that plays out.
So I like to come in it from the example of when I started to really dig into cycle awareness, and when I started to really dig into hormones. When I started to build the solid understanding that my wife, a lot of the time, will have a couple of weeks each month where her brain has got the safety mechanism switched on, where she's looking for protection, where things feel more strongly, more sensitive. And if I go into that period walking alongside her hand in hand, knowing that that's going to happen, and being fully aware of it, my capacity to not take the things that happen there personally, but to instead sit down and allow whatever is there, is times 10. It makes a colossal difference. So part of that is building an awareness of the person you're alongside. And of course, every woman will be different in that. Every man will be different in
Harry,
that, which is
don't
why...
forget, we're perimenopausal and menopausal. So there's no
And
predicting
post.
our periods or
No
having them. So just
predicting.
make sure you
So the
you
part that
address
I'm
that.
getting to... So for me, it's like, this is built it's built into a cycle awareness, of course, but of course it's also built into then when you're coming to that stage of life, it's like, how do you have the conversations with your partner? So you start to get to know this incredible person who's in front of you.
Yep.
And how do you start building that further and further and further with the assumptions that you're going to make a bunch of mistakes along the way? Of course. But that slowly builds over time.
Yeah.
And everything that the partner says over time, each time you don't get it, take it personally, that creates a bit more safety and a bit more safety and a bit more safety. And my
That's
and my
great.
experience as well as a man is the more allowing I am of whatever is there, the easier both our lives get. at that point.
So true. And so I think that actually tips into my next question, which is, so when conflict happens, and it usually does, what does healthy repair actually look like between two emotionally aware adults? And it sounds like you're kind of saying how we got to come at it from both sides and start understanding each other, but I'll let you expound on that a little bit.
I mean, the biggest part that I notice when it comes to conflict resolution is ability to own as much of your own shit as possible.
Yeah.
You know, half the time, the conflict resolutions that I think about with me and my wife, even in the midst of trigger or when nasty shit has been said, which is like, ouch. Okay,
Yeah.
what can I recognize in what I have done that has contributed to this situation, and that I can say I'm really sorry for my part there? Often that forms the biggest part of some sort of kind of repair that's going forward.
Responsibility.
But it's owning. It's like, how can I, I think the default thing that has happened in a lot of relationships, and certainly happened to me a lot, was the kind of, you're in that state and what you're trying to do is point to your partner and tell them as many of the things that they are to blame for. And instead, it's like, how many of the things can I take on myself to acknowledge the part I've played in that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tease
And
out what's yours and what's theirs, right?
my experience is that becomes extremely kind of connecting in those moments. Again and again
This is
and
what's
again.
shifted the most, I think, in my marriage is the more he can say, yep, that's mine. And quickly, I just become like putty in his hands.
You melt.
Yes. It's the accountability. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing.
Which I do want to differentiate, because I think a lot of men, I've had so many of them as comments now, think that what that means is, oh, Harry, you're saying that you have to go to her and tell her she's right about everything. No, it's not about right. It's
No.
about what do
I'm
you
not gonna
recognize?
trust that either.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. It's like, what do I recognize? Oh, shit. I said, I can see how me saying that probably contributed to you feeling deeply unsafe right then.
Mm.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Right.
Wow.
It's like-
Accountability is key. It's so important.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Harry, what led you to doing this work? Because you weren't born this way, right?
No.
maybe you are.
No. I don't know. There's so many things. I studied philosophy in university. I've been a chef most of my life, and I was obsessed with health, nutrition, hormones, fitness, all of that sort of stuff for very, very many years, and then had all these years of communication experience sort of behind me and behind my wife, and we've now been married for coming up to 11 years now. And we have the two kids, and I moved to be with her in Austria from living in the UK. And we just kept on hitting loads of these different breakdown moments and kind of never realized it. Moved back to the UK, and lots of other stuff happened. We ended up living separately, still together, but okay, we need this kind of room, this space. And it was really interesting. It wasn't until this one time and she hit, because I did do some things still, even with my knowledge of this, oh, darling, you're being a bit crazy. You were talking completely differently 2 days ago. That's a bit irrational, isn't it? It's like this kind, ouch. And she hit a moment that's several years ago now that was, okay, Harry, you don't get to call me crazy anymore. And at that point, I was like, okay, I have to actually start learning about what's really going on. And that was the piece. And more I read from these amazing female researchers and doctors and scientists, it was like, oh, shit, women are way more rational than men. Oh, no.
We're not crazy.
It hurt. It's like not only not crazy, it's like men are legitimately scientifically more crazy than women on many levels.
You heard it
so
here.
much more.
I laugh every time a man says, I'm just a simple man. Like, no, you're not. so much more
Wait,
complex.
Harry, can you just give us you've already given us a few pearls, but can you just give us 2 other ways and we're not crazy, but men think we are?
Lori, good question.
I mean, to be honest, the single biggest one that really transformed for me was looking at progesterone as a hormone, because people, men, even a lot of women that I've spoken to go through this luteal phase, or progesterone's up, this is going here, and it's I know I feel crazy, and this is going to shit, and this is horrible, and now I'm more sensitive, and this, and then I look at it from the biological point of view, and it's well, of course, your whole brain is keyed in to bloody looking for safety and nesting. You've got 2 jobs to do. We men only have 1. My God,
So
of
true.
course.
Just
But
2 jobs?
the other, well, you've got to both get nice and horny, sexy, make the baby happen, but also prepare and carry the baby. And
Yeah.
then the other piece that I found amazing was how much men are responsive to everything. So normally speaking, as a woman, it's the hormones will go up and down, first cycling, but even when it comes into the menopausal years, it's they go up and down in and of themselves. They're not generally affected by the environment so much.
Yep.
I kind of no more than a normal person. Yeah, someone's really stressed, it will affect you. But other than that, it's normal. Men, wow, we're affected by everything. If you put us around a gun, our testosterone goes up. If our favorite football team wins, our testosterone goes up. If we're around an ovulating woman, our testosterone goes up. If we're around something we find boring, our testosterone goes down. Everything affects us all the time.
You guys are crazy.
We are totally and we like to think that we're really rational within
Yes.
it. But it's totally
Lori,
the
use
opposite.
that as your
And,
defense next fight with your
I tell you
husband.
what,
Yeah.
learning that stuff hurts. It hurts.
Not to us. Not
It
to
took me a
us.
while. It
What
took
did
me
you
a
do
while.
to your
but-
testosterone to learn all that?
Well,
Testosterone
what did I do to my testosterone? I also crashed my testosterone when I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
So I took
see that a lot.
steroids at the time, believing that it was going to make me big and muscular and popular and all these sorts of things. And I crashed my testosterone. I ended up with my testicles shriveled to the size of raisins, which I tell you what, as a 21-year-old man, is not what you want.
Nope. No.
But something that I still look on at that point is the way I felt emotionally is the way so many women have now described the hormonal ups and downs and roller coasters to me. That was one of those
Preach.
moments that really made me go that is real. And most of us men never have to go through that ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But built a huge amount of respect in me.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, one of your clips and helped you to really go viral and become, your brand was as big as it is now. One of your clips did very well. And it was talking about how for a man to experience a drop in testosterone equivalent to a woman's cycle, he'd have to age 125 years.
So
That
good.
is insane. So,
Wow.
So I have to ask though, Harry, if women's hormones can shift that dramatically in just days, right? And it takes men 125 years. Is it fair to say that a lot of relationship conflict isn't possibly about the relationship at all, but maybe more about how men are not understanding what's actually happening in the women's bodies rather than the relationship?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
so much. I mean, that video was made from this moment of I was going along in the car and I was having a conversation with ChatGPT at the time, and I was I'm trying to look for this analogy. Chat, can you tell me what percentage does the average woman drop in her hormones after ovulation? Oh, and how long would that take? Can you do this math for me? And it spat out this math, and I had to do it 10 more times. I was I could barely believe the kind of time difference and scales spoken. But of course, if that sort of stuff is happening, and at the same time, women are being labeled as irrational or dramatic or overreacting, I just started to think more and more and more, Christ, if the men were going through that, we'd want to be wasted on hand and foot.
Yeah.
So no wonder if they're going into that without any recognition that is biological reality, that's going to produce a lot of conflict.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, It did very well for you, that clip. It's really great. People should go watch it.
So
Congrats
seen.
on
We're
that.
validated.
We'll put the link in here, right?
Yeah, we absolutely will. All right, so we're going to move on to our third segment, which is our favorite, our legs wide open segment, where we're going to do our fun little game that we like to play. This one is one of our favorites because it is called, and I'm getting my gavel ready. It is called Menopause Court. This is
Court's in order.
Miscommunication Edition. Yes. This is what he hears versus what you meant. Okay. So, ladies, what we're going to do, we're going to put miscommunication in relationships on trial because what we say and what we hear are clearly not the same thing. So, I'm going to give you guys a statement and we are going to say what we actually mean. And then, Harry, we're going to ask you what men actually hear. Okay. We're going to see where this goes wrong.
Okay.
All right. So starting out, when a woman says, I'm fine, what does a man actually hear? Harry, what does the man actually hear?
With that tone of voice that you just used, just double checking.
Yeah, I'm going to do it just like that. I'm fine.
Okay. Oh, fuck. What have I done? I've done something. She is not fine. Okay, is there anything I can clean? I better clean something. I'm sure she wants me to clean something. I think that would be a key one that would come up at those points.
Yep.
For me.
That's awesome.
Interesting how you think it's about something you need to do or fix versus something that's going on inside of her.
It's like, obviously, I have not worked out something that's going on that she wants me to do or she would like different. That's 100%.
Okay. Dog
But
house.
if I had said it, oh, I'm fine. Would that have changed your thinking?
I'm fine, darling. I love you. You know, of course.
I
Of course
think
it's gonna
what
change.
Andrea, I think what it really means is ask me more questions.
Tell me more.
Yes.
I'm
dig
fine.
more. Dig in.
Tell me
That
more.
would not be any woman's final answer.
Tell me more.
Yes, absolutely. All right, the next one. I just need a minute.
Great.
Or, I mean, that would depend on the context there, Andrea. Are we planning to get in the car, but I know that I'm going to be sat in the car waiting for half an hour?
Yes. 1 minute means 13 to 18 minutes.
To be honest, I think the average man is like, oh, cool, I'm going to put a coffee on. I am not assuming. Even my wife now, I am not assuming. She asked me for a minute. It's like I am prepared to wait a good 20 at least.
Oh,
20.
that's so
1
fun.
equals 20. Okay, good
One
to know.
That makes it so much easier for us.
To 13 for me. Every woman's different.
7 to 13. It's a bit different for everyone.
Every woman's different. I'm sure
But
it
you
depends
learn.
on our
Yeah.
hormones. Our hormones.
The men will learn. Yeah, what that actually means.
But it doesn't trigger any anger in me at that point. It doesn't trigger frustration. It's just like, oh, okay, I know what I'm working with because I know my wife.
And I think that goes on any way you say it, because you could have said it like I said, I just need a minute, or I could be like, I just need a minute. And you would be like, it still means 20 minutes. Anyway, look at it, right?
Yeah.
I need a minute.
Everything's going to change with tone, of course, but you know.
Yeah.
Of course. Okay. How about this one? Do whatever you want.
Oh,
Do
That's so loaded.
do whatever I want. Do not do what. Again. If I'm doing something and my wife comes up to me and like, do whatever you want, darling. I love you so much. Have a wonderful time. Of course, that's a different thing. But do whatever you want.
But she wouldn't say that.
no.
She wouldn't say do whatever you want if she meant that. She would say have a
My
great
wife
time.
probably wouldn't, but I think a lot might
Do
have done.
whatever you want is a passive aggressive, very clear statement not to.
Yeah.
Even if it's said with a nice tone. I
Yeah. Was that why it was a shocker for you, Dawn? Were you like, whoa?
no, I know what I'm feeling when I say that. Like we are on the brink of the red button being pushed, right? Like it's not, no bueno, no bueno.
That's great. Okay, so this one, again, you're right. It's so much about tone, because I could say, I love it when you take the lead. Or I could say, I love it when you take the lead.
yeah. If you're saying it in that way, it depends. You know, are we in bed at that point, or are we somewhere else out for a walk? It's like that's also a very different thing. You know, so we've got to contextualize where we are. You know, it's going to change it. But But
Right.
if I love it when you take the lead. Interesting. That one doesn't have as much of an effect for me, and maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry, I can't give you
Is that
much from that
because you
one.
like to take the lead? Are you someone
I
who likes to
think
take
me
the
and
lead?
my wife have a very easy flow in us when it comes to those sorts of things, both in the
Okay.
bedroom and out. So it's like,
Oh, I love that. So it works.
I think
Okay.
these
that
word
works. That
choices
works.
are passive aggressive. Like
All
if
of them
I
are.
said I love when you take the lead, that's me telling my husband he does not take the lead enough.
And that's how we come out sometimes. We come out sideways without just, straight on asking for what we
Yeah.
want. We go, oh, I love it when you take the lead. It's like, zing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. The next one. What if I say it like this? Well, I don't want to talk about it right now.
Oh, that's just like
Did you say ick?
well, it's not quite ick, but it's like, okay, I am going to be sitting on that for some time. I'm going to start digging for information.
Doghouse.
I'm really going to start like,
Investigator.
okay, I better do a little bit of something right now because obviously something's going on, but you told me I don't want. So I would probably try to do some nice things in order to slowly get something because that would freak me out.
Yeah.
That would just leave me. And if it carried on not talking, I would be holding that. I would lose sleep over that.
Yeah.
Well, Harry,
That
just so
would,
you know, I don't speak for all women, but that means ask me more questions until I spill the
all
beans.
of
It,
these
does not,
mean that
it
for
means I
you.
don't want to talk more about it right in this exact second, but in 15 seconds,
I need a minute.
if you show you really want to hear it, then I do want to talk about it.
I know that, but I'm trying to give a response from an average guy here.
You're no average guy, Harry. You are not an average guy.
And the last one. Okay, this one is I'm not in the mood. So I could say that in a few different ways. I'm not in the mood, or I could say I'm not in the mood. How are we taking that? Is
It's
that
honest, I
offensive?
think. Depends how you say
Yeah.
it.
Oh, that feels quite
Yeah.
honest, actually. That's
Yeah.
the only one of those that
Wow.
doesn't have that like mild passive aggressive like kicking
Oh,
underneath
wow. I
it.
must be the most manipulative of us all. I would totally say that. I would totally say that to prepave myself being convinced into something, right? Like convince me, pitch me better.
You just assume that women don't always mean what they say. That maybe digging in and
We do. That's why they're terrified most of the time.
Right.
Because
You're like, there's something
most of us have not
behind
built
that.
the skills necessary to like be with
Right.
that
Yeah.
and to allow that to come, whatever happens to be there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like-
Interesting. And I think that is exactly where a lot of the disconnection starts because it's not because we don't care, but because we are often speaking two completely different languages. And I think
Yeah.
it just throws us up, especially in menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause.
Yes. So men learn your women.
Yes. All right. Well, there we have Menopause Court. That was the miscommunication edition. Case closed on that one.
Adjourned.
I don't
did
have to go to
good.
jail, right? No
Adjourned.
jail.
No jail. No jail.
No jail time for
Gold
you.
stars.
Yeah. You get out on good behavior.
Okay,
All right.
okay, thank God for that bail.
All right. Well, this is exactly what we do here at Menopause Love Lounge. We have these real conversations. We talk about our real experiences and saying the things that most people won't, like we love to do. So make sure you guys are following us and make sure you come back for next week's episode. There's always something good brewing in the lounge. And don't forget to watch full videos on YouTube. And please like, follow, and subscribe. Harry, please tell everybody where they can find you. I know you've got some stuff coming up. Feel free, take your moment and shine.
Thank you very much, Andrea.
Mhm.
So you can find me at she'snotcrazy.co.uk, and there I've just got a few for now. It's a few freebies that are kind of giveaways, a women's female cycle chart, a perimenopause kind of menopause cycle chart, and I'm looking
Ooh.
to go one up for post-birth. So doing my
Love
best
it.
to create that into a chart. It wasn't easy because there's ups and downs. And a free 7-day email series course for men on helping men to understand their partners and the women in their lives.
Nice.
Very
And
cool.
hopefully in the next few months, there's going to be the She's Not Crazy book, Welcome to the Relationship Dojo. Should be coming out sometime by September, I hope.
Yay. Oh, I
Um,
love it.
So
I
good.
So
love
that's the
that.
next thing. And then there's going to be either a school platform or a kind of course community platform where me and my wife are still working on each on it together and trying to find the best way to go forward that actually helps people.
Beautiful.
I love it.
Beautiful.
Such a great contribution. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
so
for
much.
joining us, Harry. Yes,
you,
from
Harry.
all of us.
Yes, so
Thank
wonderful.
you so much.
Yes. All right, you guys, go check us out on YouTube. You're going to love it. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.